It's the moment that's captivated audiences of all nationalities and all ages in all parts of the world, ever since the story was first told in Chinese in 850 AD, the moment when Cinderella meets her prince. Cinderella is perhaps the most enduring of all the legends. And in a sense, the legends of the cinema, the best legends that is, are always Cinderella stories too. For the world of the cinema and the popular imagination is the world make-believe. An extraordinary world in which, for instance, a completely unknown actress can be plucked from obscurity and given the celluloid slipper of success. This is the story of one young actress whose own Cinderella story came true. Her name is Gemma Craven. But in order to tell her story, we must tell a little of the story behind the film itself. It all began with the Sherman Brothers in Beverly Hills when they agreed to write the music and lyrics for The Slipper and the Rose, the story of Cinderella. And within 9 months, the traditional period of conception, I was listening to Dick Sherman as he sang Secret Kingdom, which was to become for Gemma and Richard Chamberlain, her prince in the film, one of their great moments together. And it was clear immediately that we had something special. The next problem, of course, was to raise the finance for a $5 million film. And here, Naeem Atala and John Asprey, the production coordinators, were essential. And soon we had the go-ahead. Brian Forbes was a natural choice as director. He and the Sherman Brothers, in fact, wrote the screenplay together. And with all his wide-ranging experience in all aspects of film production, we felt Stuart Lyons picked himself as producer. Conferences were underway, though at this time we still didn't know about the existence of Gemma Craven. We still didn't know how we would find our Cinderella. While work began at Pinewood Studios, the search for Cinderella began with more than 800 girls considered for the role. As the search progressed, Julie Harris, award-winning designer, was already at work, designing the most elaborate range of costumes she'd ever had to design. More than 300 costumes. Towards the end, she said, I eventually almost ran out of colours. Her big challenge, of course, was to be the major ballroom scene, where everyone who appeared in the ballroom had to have a different and unique design. Ray Sims started work as production designer. He relished the challenge of a fairy story with a fictitious setting as opposed to reality. He said, gave me a free hand to use my imagination within, of course, the realms of credibility. What a job he had to do. The ballroom set alone was 80 feet long by 60 feet wide. The throne room was 60 feet by 35 feet. The vast hall was 60 feet by 35 feet. The marble columns and the plaster arches in the kitchen set were styled on the kitchen of an existing historic Bavarian castle. And the ballroom floor was based on a palace near Vienna, which was Napoleon's headquarters in 1805. Over 10,000 candles he used in different sizes as period illumination. As the plasterers attended to every detail at Pinewood, the search for Cinderella continued alongside. It extended across the Atlantic to America, and was announced coast to coast there too. Ray based the whole staircase, an incredibly imposing staircase, on a palace in Salzburg. The whole planning is set in the period between 1770 and the turn of the 19th century. Not because this was the period that Cinderella had most been set, but because of the decorative qualities of the architecture, the opportunity for the costumes, the chance to catch the romance of the story. But we still didn't have the heart of our story. We still didn't have Cinderella. We still hadn't met Gemma Craven. More than 150 girls were interviewed. And then, one fortunate evening, Stuart Lyons travelled to the Bristol Old Vic, and on stage he heard a voice and saw an actress that he knew in his bones could possibly be the girl we were looking for. But before any tests could be arranged, Brian Forbes and Stuart Lyons combed their way through the castles of Austria. They picked the locations of the snow sequences at the beginning of the picture, for the film aimed to include all 4 seasons. It was vital to catch the snow. It wasn't easy, but it was vital. The rain came down, but in the end, Brian Forbes got the pictures that he needed. Back in London from Austria, Brian Forbes and Stuart Lyons continued the search for Cinderella. First of all, a voice recording was made of Gemma Craven, the girl from the Bristol Old Vic. That tape was sent out to the Sherman Brothers in California for them to listen to. And almost immediately there was a telephonic thumbs up from the Sherman Brothers. Clearly it was time to take the major step now, the major step of a screen test. A screen test for Gemma Craven making her film debut in the most terrifying circumstances, really. But her test was so good that we took the decision to show to the press when we announced the choice of Gemma Craven. Not something special, but just this, that we knew was right.